CM Punk. CM
Oh
Punk.
my gosh.
CM Punk. CM Punk. CM Punk. I can hear the chant from New York City, baby. I am just so city, that is for sure. CM Punk is all elite, and what a way. Yep, crack it open, celebrate, pop a little bit of the bubbly. Cheers to the weekend, because that is, as we like to say here in AEW on Dynamite Download, as we like to say, changing the landscape over and over again.
Forever changed.
The change
tonight.
The bar was set, and then they topped it, and then tenfolds. I mean, what did you guys think, man? I mean, it was hinted at for a while, and obviously all the little breadcrumbs we got, but what are your thoughts, man? Bonds, I know, like what you said in
Bonds,
our text.
Get into it, bro. Everybody's wondering, Bonds. We know he was on your Mount Rushmore.
Guys.
You took a break for a little bit from pro wrestling, kind of like Punk, right? Like kind of like after, like, dude, how happy are you right now?
Words won't be able to explain it, man. Like this is like Michael Jordan coming out of retirement, but instead of 1 year playing baseball, this is 7 years in the making. And
wow,
man, guys, like this is the biggest night maybe in the history of professional wrestling.
I mean, literally, we saw grown men crying in the crowd, and the crowd was so deafening. And I mean, obviously, one thing like hearing it mic'd up, but imagining being there, like literally, it was probably ground rattling. I don't know how. I know he's a professional
energy,
but CM Punk, man, how do you not like just get emotionally happy?
You could tell he was. He was trying so hard, man. Like.
He said it too, right? I mean, he said it like, guys, you know how to make a guy feel like Britt Baker in Pittsburgh, The AEW fan base is a passionate bunch, man. And like, I know that we try to stay real positive here, but like, let's call a spade a spade, like the pro wrestling war has really brought out a lot of like the divisiveness in fans and stuff. But I think that like, we as like AEW fans, I think tonight is a night where like don't let anybody rain on your parade. If you are a pro, if you're like Punk said tonight in his promo, I mean, like he is passionate about professional wrestling, and if you are a pro wrestling fan, allow this to be a W for the business. Allow this to be a W for you. Celebrate it. Have a good time. I mean, I'm beaming. My wife was sitting next to me and was just like, it was obvious that, we love AEW. We love what they're doing, but tonight was special, man. Like tonight
it really was.
It was an all-day thing where I was getting amped all day long.
I was checking my watch all day, and I was working and stuff. But I was like, finally, I'm like, okay, all right, 2 more hours, 30 minutes, and the way I think it was. I know, Bonds, you had your take on how they booked the show, but I think it was perfectly booked.
Fine.
Because it's one of those things that's like you have to
give the people what they want.
For sure.
They were going to hijack the show, man.
I told you, man, when we were talking about how we would book it, I know that it would have been a beautiful thing to try to save this until the end of the show. But, guys, there's no putting this off any further, guys. This was the moment that the fans were dying to see.
Yes.
From the minute the show started, the CM Punk chants were deafening.
Oh my gosh.
SPD, you said it, man. The energy in the arena was just, you could feel the goosebumps, man. Like, and the fact that we're gonna be there at All Out for his first match against Darby Allin, folks. Choo choo, baby. It's gonna be a heck of a time. That match is gonna be killer. Punk's promo, like, there's a lot of things that all of us can love and respect about CM Punk, but there is just an authenticity and a raw,
of course, like
real, like just his promos are just so real. And, talking about like wanting to work with talent like this in AEW, the young talent, there's no better place for him to start for me than with Darby Allin, because this is a kid who, again, you talk about kind of on the outskirts, kind of an outsider. and really a guy who always consistently makes his opponents look like $1,000,000 anytime that he gets in the ring with somebody. I know SPD, you and I have gone toe to toe and battled time and time again over Darby Allin and what he brings. But you and I both can agree. I know that the crash test dummy has always been something that you've talked to him about. But you and I both can agree Darby Allin is going to be an incredible opponent for CM Punk to debut against in AEW because of his ability to put over his opponents. I can only imagine what it's going to be like to see CM Punk hit the go to sleep or try to against Darby. It's going to be a heck of a show.
Oh my gosh. And it's going to be, I just can't believe that we're going to be there for such a monumental weekend. Rampage. I mean, we have next week, very few more shows on television to lead up to this. So it's going to be an awesome time. Obviously, I feel like Punk is going to be making appearances at every Chicago event, maybe at the Fan Fest or whatever. But, man, I cannot get over that crowd and that pop and just the fact that they leaned into it so much. The announcers stopped talking and literally let the fans hijack it for 30 seconds. And then boom, you hit that pop and unbelievable. And like you did at poll earlier today, Bonds, about the music. And it was perfect that he was able to use the music, anything like that. And nothing was, rights to WWE or any BS like that. But yes, my heart is still pumping. My hair is still sticking up on my neck and my arms. It is an awesome time. It is, it's not necessarily the fact that I'm a humongous CM Punk fan, but I'm a wrestling fan and know what this means for the growth of, like he said, the people in the back and the people in the seats. And this person that we didn't want to be gone from the business is in the right place where he deserves after what he's gone through. Like, if you know his story, the way he was treated like dog shit when he was the top guy and literally risking his life with infections and things like that. And so for him to be happy and in the right place at the right time, I think even if he joined day one with Jericho, it would be impactful for sure.
We wanted that, right? We were hoping that could have been the case, but I think this is even bigger, right? Because AEW has had time now to build momentum and establish themselves as a real legitimate alternative to what we've seen and the competition, as Cody called it, right? And I think that now that they've had this legitimacy, and we've been able to hear at Dynamite Download, and all the AEW fans out there across the world have been able to see AEW not only bring some established incredible talents, and I know we're going to get into some, John Moxley in the main event, a guy who was the flag bearer of this company for a long time. They brought in a lot of great talents, but they've also been able to build up their own. And now that they have a full roster of potential opponents for this guy to go against, I mean, we get to see Darby first, but how many people out there want to see a mic battle between CM Punk and MJF? I know, Bonds, your first overall pick, MJF. How incredible of a battle would that be between CM Punk and MJF? There's so many talent. Kenny Omega was a guy for me. I'm already salivating at the thought of Don Callis, Kenny Omega, and the Elite getting in a promo battle and a feud with CM Punk. I just think it would be pure entertainment. There's so much to unravel here. Bonds, I want to throw it to you. First and foremost, I want you to have the opportunity to react to the promo and obviously the excitement of being able to have this moment play out in front of us here. But second, too, one of the things that I think looking at this, and you, SPD mentioned, he as a pro wrestling fan, how he's excited, but you as a diehard CM Punk fan, as a guy who has followed this guy from the get, and seen
on the hands
and seen the talent and seen the promos and seen the unique creativity that this guy has had, the different characters and the different personas that he's been able to play over the years, you have to be salivating at it. And dude, the thing that's most exciting for me is, we look at we coming fresh off those Roman Reigns comments about how, CM Punk doesn't move the needle like John Cena or The Rock. Dude, when I saw this tonight, I really stepped back and I thought, who could come back and have that kind of pop and that kind of moment? And it's hard to, I mean, honestly, when you look at pro wrestling guys, The Rock, we've seen him come back time and again, and he's entertaining and he's charismatic, but Stone Cold, I mean, but again, CM Punk being able to wrestle, and that's the difference, right? CM Punk being able to wrestle, being that anti-hero. Is there anybody in the landscape of pro wrestling that could do what we saw tonight? I mean, it's just truly special.
No, man. No, that's the answer. This was the biggest moment that we could have imagined for AEW. I remember before I get to the promo, I'm going to talk a little bit about something I talked about with Mike and Crayfish. When AEW started, the first thing I said to him before I watched it, I was like, man, I wonder if they'll ever get big enough to sign somebody like CM Punk, if he'll ever come out of retirement. And so tonight was like a culmination of all my hopes for what this company could become. And man, I am so excited because I was texting at you guys before before we got on here, man. And I said, where Vince McMahon has tried to kill North American professional wrestling, I feel like Tony Khan is saving it.
Yep.
And
well said,
man. Tonight is special. I'll always remember where I was when CM Punk came back, man. Like I'll remember this forever as a wrestling fan, because I was one of those people, man. When he was gone, man, I split. I was done. It's like, how do you mess up having the next best thing in your company and you just don't care because the fans were the ones that wanted it, not Vince McMahon. The fans were the ones that believed in him, that thought that he was the man. This was a guy that started his own wrestling federation in Chicago when he was younger. Like, this guy loves the business. If you think he doesn't love the business, you don't know his story.
Yep.
Like, you're wrong. Sorry, you're wrong. People have said, "Oh, he turned his back on the business." No, he didn't. He turned his back on a bad company. He turned his back on a bad company.
And let's be completely transparent. Yeah. He turned his back on sports entertainment, right? And that's the difference. And I think that is really what splits these two companies. And I think that there is a dot, like, to love and respect what pro wrestling can do. It's different when you respect and acknowledge what this is all about. When done well, the stories, the compelling characters. Bonds, the thing about Punk too is he kind of embodies this anti-hero vibe that is just it just connects on a level of just like, he has a cool factor, right? He has this inherent cool factor to him. And I mean, trust me, as a CM Punk fan, I saw what he did. He went out there, he tried the UFC thing. I know people will dog on him for that, but I personally think that it's pretty cool that a guy would try something like that, go out there and be willing to risk it and try. I think that nothing, to me, this dude kind of has that, like, I don't give a shit attitude. I'm going to live my best life. I'm not here to gain your approval. And I think that's what has always made him so being able to connect with fans, is because he knows who he is. He's comfortable in his own skin. Right.
You can tell that he was a Ring of Honor, like, he's the Ring of Honor legend. Like, he's the ultimate indie wrestler who made it and was over with the fans, who the fans embraced, the fans loved. And now he's back for the fans that actually love professional wrestling. And it is a long time coming, but I'm glad it's here. That's all I can say about it, man.
I'm so awesome. Geeking out. Yeah, I mean, everything for someone, obviously professional for many, many years, but for someone to pull back the curtain and be like, I don't know what I was going to say, like, just to deliver on every aspect.
It was awesome.
I could never perform or even just think straight when a crowd is chanting your name or a crowd is that hot for you, and you're just, as other wrestlers have talked about when they retire, that adrenaline is unreplaceable. You can't replace that pop. You can't replace the boos or the cheers. Like, it's a drug, and I know he's drug free and straight edge, CM Punk, but that is his drug, and and I feel like he was missing that, and he dabbled in MMA and things like that, but for him to finally be back, and hopefully this is his home for many years to come. And I hope I feel like we're going to ride the wave of this for a while, but through All Out. And I think after the match with Darby, that's when we start to see maybe like the first feud start to kindle up. I don't want anyone I was glad AEW didn't throw in, because I was texting you. I was like, is there going to be a villain there going to spoil the party to get, Inferno heat, the biggest heat in AEW? Is there going to be that person? I'm glad they didn't.
And it could have been. That could have easily been a moment, right? You're right, SPD.
Yeah. But that's WWE style. I feel like.
But why not let the fans and Punk and everybody in that arena have that pure joy, right? Like, this is one of those where it was just pure joy. It was just pure. You could feel it in the crowd. Literally, SPD. I know you and I saw it, like tears in the crowd, and just the pure the energy, the love, the happiness, and in a time nowadays too where like. That's so rare, where you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. This was a moment where we got to just be able to have fun and feel like kids again, and just be excited about something. It was fantastic to see.
And we're going to be there for his in-ring AEW debut.
That's oh my God, I cannot believe we're going to be at All Out. We're going to represent. We're going to be having a blast.
Pro Wrestling Tees website. They crashed. Their website crashed as well. So I feel like Tony Khan and AEW is like making their money back just in T-shirt sales for whatever they're paying CM Punk, even though I'm sure it was a blank check. Like, here's a blank check. Write how many zeros you want. Welcome to AEW.
and let's talk about that too, man. Tony Khan,
Thank you, Tony Khan.
This dude, this man has this was his dream to create this company, and he's a fan. He's a pro wrestling fan. He created this company, and honestly, a vast majority of the time that AEW has been in existence, he did not have the benefit and the luxury of being able to pull in ticket sales and selling out arenas and all of that, right? And so, for him to continue to persevere and sign big names and not let people go and do all those things that he did that has made AEW such a classy company, such an easy company to root for, to bring in those talents. And now I feel like, here at Dynamite Download, we've talked about it. It feels like they have their foot on the gas pedal, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Buckle up. It feels like now that they're able to go on the road again, Tony and the boys in AEW are not playing. And tonight was, I think, really the signal that, all right, a new era of AEW has begun. And
say it with me, guys.
The landscape has changed, my friend.
As we say here in Dynamite Download,
amen.
Landscape has been changed. It's been changing for a while, but now I think they just bought a lot of new acreage to change that landscape completely.
Nice. This is the Louisiana Purchase of AEW, essentially. Man,
well said.
Yeah, I agree with you. S197, I'm not sure your name, but thank you so much for joining. Everyone, thank you for joining us so much. We appreciate it. But we were texting in the chat like this is going to be impossible to follow. But I would have been fine with the CM Punk, just a promo for the whole hour, and I think every one of us would have been.
Seriously,
which is kind of bizarre. Like, you sell out a wrestling show with no wrestling, but we would be happy. No one would complain.
No. Well, I mean, the anticipation for this was so crazy, right? And that was another thing. Like, let's give some praise here too, to the fact that the stage has been set for weeks now. I feel like CM Punk has been trending on Twitter for, it feels like, a couple of weeks.
It's been the summer of Punk on Twitter.
It's already been the summer of Punk. And for that to happen, and for him to have that spotlight, and SPD, like you said, have the crowd, a deafening crowd chanting his name, all eyes on this guy. Definitely. And for him to go out there and just kill it in that promo, like he always does, right? And that was the thing. Like, CM Punk with a live microphone, this is the man of the pipe bomb, right?
Most dangerous man in wrestling.
Amen, Bonds. I know you are just happy as hell. But for him to have that stage set, and bottom of the ninth, World Series, and for him to hit literally walk-off home run, it just was absolutely perfect. Even the little comment at the end about the ice cream bars, he had a way of tapping into the nostalgia and referencing his past in a very good way, right? It just like touching on it for those of us, but also focusing on the future. This was a very smart promo by Punk. highlighting that nostalgia that we all feel and why we're all so excited for his return, but then go doubling down and building on that excitement by saying, like, I'm here to face this young talent of up and coming stars that quite honestly, he was trying to help other young talents. And that was one of his biggest frustrations. And one of the reasons why he always seemed to get himself into trouble was that he would be a guy who was the voice for the voiceless. He was a guy who would stand up for the Chris Masters of the world, the Colt Cabanas of the world, the guys who don't get the platform that he has. Yep. And he wants to see those talents get a shot. And for him to join a company that believes in that mantra, that lives that mantra, and who now has an abundance of talent and opportunities for him to have exciting new feuds and matchups. I can't believe what a way that Punk just absolutely delivered. And SPD, this is setting the tone. When Daniel Bryan eventually comes to AEW, which is the rumor, right? Think about how much we look at this company and how much this company has grown since you and I started this brand. The Dynamite download started. It is
I can't wait to rewatch episode 1 and 2 and 3 like early on. And see where we've grown and where the cards are growing. I was going back at looking through like all of our graphics of some of the early stuff and like that we were talking about the feuds then. It's so fun to kind of like see some of those graphics and scroll through Instagram or what was like the feuds. I'm like, oh man, these are like awesome matches. They'd still be awesome matches. But wow, I mean, you have to ride the tide for this. You know, some people talked about potentially a double swerve or, you know, maybe even an all-out debut. I don't even know if you need another all-out debut, but I feel like they will.
You hold off on, let this be, to me, SPD, not to cut you off, man, but like, to me, you let this moment, you marinate, right? We always talk about stretch it out, right, folks? We stretch it out. And AEW knows what they're doing here, man. You allow this CM Punk moment to breathe. Allow this moment to let Punk shine in Chicago. Let him have that moment. And again, Darby's going to be the perfect opponent for him in this matchup because he's a young, talented superstar who has no problem putting himself through hell. Yeah. And I think it's going to make Punk look like $1 million. But the chat room is buzzing. The fans want to know. Clearly, your boy Crayfish, if I can name dream opponents for CM Punk.
Name 3.
Darby Allin's going to be near the top of that list for all the right reasons, right? The rebellious nature, that attitude, that anti-hero vibe that he gives off, kind of that outsider mentality. Again, young kid with a lot of charisma and talent and kind of also touches on the nostalgia with having Sting by his side. I really like that. Bonds, I'm going to throw it to you. We're going to do a little round table here. Bonds, who would be your dream CM Punk opponent? And I can already see you smiling, bro. Go ahead. Tell the world why MJF would be the perfect opponent for CM Punk.
Well, you guys know those mic battles would be top notch.
I don't know what would be better or what, Jericho and MJF or CM versus MJF. Like both of those are like literally platinum, Grammy, gold plated feuds.
Yeah, and Jericho and him have a history. You know, they've had some of CM Punk's best matches of his career have been against Chris Jericho. And I would love to see that again. You know, that'd be great. But if we're talking newer talent, like man, MJF just put down Chris Jericho. You know, maybe he's
maybe he starts leaning into he's the best in the world. You know, like no one's better than me. I'm the salt of the earth. You know, he could lean into how he's the greatest alive, and Punk could eventually have a little bone to pick with him. That's true.
Maybe that's where he gets his first singles loss, man, against the best in the world.
And I think that CM Punk versus MJF would be a really nice pivot from a Jericho because, again, Jericho and MJF, it became very personal. It became like quite a bit of a blood feud between those guys. But there's always that underlying humor behind a Chris Jericho promo, right? Jericho and MJF always have those moments of funny humor. And I got serious. There was blood, and the labors of Jericho seriously was an arduous task for Jericho to overcome. But Punk versus MJF would be, Punk's not going to pull punches, and I think that those
it'll be a different tone.
It would be a different vibe, right? Yeah. I really like that pick. SPD, what about you? I have a feeling I could guess yours, but I'm going to let you. I'm going to let you say it. Who would be your dream opponent?
Well, obviously it would be. I think the ultimate payoff in this company would be MJF versus CM Punk because it's a fresh face for him. It depending on how they book Inner Circle Pinnacle stuff, or if what they do after All Out. I'm just so intrigued of what's lies ahead. Like, is CM Punk and Darby going to main event, which it could main event with no title on the line, but just the impact of him. It's another one of those, like, how do you follow that, like, as well?
Start the show, yeah, it's a good point.
To start the show, too, then that could hurt the crowd or give the people what they want at the same time. Like, as we saw tonight.
I think if they know when it's going to be,
we'll talk about the rest of the card of tonight's Rampage Rundown, but the tag match really helped keep the momentum going, and it was a fantastic match. But MJF is at the top, but it would be fun to see, like, a heel, if someone was a heel of the two, Sammy versus CM Punk.
Wow.
So I'm curious.
I like the young names. I'm shocked because honestly, when I threw it to you, I thought it was a shoe, and I knew Bonds was going to say MJF. I thought without a doubt you'd say Kenny Omega. I think Kenny Omega versus CM Punk. You're talking about the best bout machine versus the best in the world. Yeah. And again, you just mentioned having a dynamic heel. Punk can play heel, but I don't think he's doing that for a while. Right now, Kenny Omega and Don Callis and the Elite, I feel like that would be a really nice. And again, the promo battles would be incredible. You could and then the in-ring work. You know that you can trust Kenny to put on an incredible match with anybody. Yeah. I thought you were going to say Kenny, so I like the pick with Sammy. I think both of you guys leaning into what Punk talked about tonight, right? Which is
fresh faces,
the young talent in AEW. And another name that comes to mind, again, think about the matchups that he could have with a Jungle Boy. Think about there's like that young talent there. Like, I know that when Punk talked about the landscape of AEW, he also mentioned a guy like Powerhouse Hobbs. There's a lot of talent in AEW that, man, the matchup
that would help Team Taz dramatically to make them more relevant.
No doubt. No doubt. No. But for me, I thought again, since you didn't take it, I'm saying Kenny. I think Kenny and the Elite versus Punk, I think that would be a home run, man. I think that would be absolutely killer.
So if you're like, I know we still have a very short amount of time. I just checked my Delta app. I'm flying to you guys in 12 days for our all-out weekend, which is
shaping up, man.
But it's looking more and more like that. I mean, Hangman's really might not be on the card, which is like really surprising. Like, it's after that is so crazy to me. I'm bummed about that. Obviously, we're gonna have, as of right now, let's review the card. Obviously, CM Punk versus Darby.
Yep.
We have Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage, Pac versus Andrade, Young Bucks in a cage match versus TBD. What else was announced?
Bro.
Oh, QT Marshall versus Paul White.
This is becoming a crayfish special here.
I know.
I'm really liking the way this card is shaping up, man. I get to see Pac versus Andrade, which is going to be a banger in-ring match. That those two are going to deliver. And again, maybe doesn't have the spectacle and the buzz around it that a CM Punk versus Darby has, but those two guys are going to deliver in the ring. Pac, that's what he does best. That's going to be phenomenal. But you just said it, man. Darby versus CM Punk now, that's going to be a game changer. That's that. I think that takes this card to another level, right? I mean, just the buzz around that card. I get to see QT Marshall go face-to-face with Paul White, which is going to be interesting. Now, if I'm QT, I'm scrambling right now. That that guy has all sorts of connections. I'd be hit. I know the governor, Anthony Ogogo, has been really active on social. I would love to see Ogogo make his return at All Out. And Paul White is known for that knockout punch.
I was gonna say, put that knockout punch on Ogogo.
Knockout punch from Paul White versus the punch from the governor.
You should have a boxing match, man.
I would love to see that eventually come to fruition. And SPD, like we saw tonight, Jurassic Express, we'll get into that match next. Jurassic Express beating Private Party and being able and really holding their own. I think the buzz, keeping the fans love Jurassic Express. And I know that you're a happy guy that you get to see your boy Luchasaurus win again. But the potential of maybe seeing the Lucha Brothers or Jurassic Express going against the Bucks again,
win
in a steel cage. There's a lot to like here, man.
Where do you see? So I know we haven't had time to really digest this, but
Women's Battle Royal, my gosh, there's so much.
But back to before we talk about the card, we got to still talk about CM Punk, this whole situation. Like, I'm curious from your guys' lens, like at All Out, do you see? Obviously, it's going to be an awesome banger match, and it's a win-win because the crowd's so over for both people. Do you see someone coming out trying to really establish a feud after the match for CM Punk? Do you see a heel person kind of calling him out, or do you see maybe CM Punk coming out to call out Kenny after his match, or what do you see him going after Darby right away? Because you got to look at the landscape, because if it is MJF right away, that means the Pinnacle and Inner Circle stuff is going to start to break away, which we don't want to, because that's still producing some great stuff. And listening to Santana Ortiz podcast on Unrestricted, they're not done with FTR. Obviously, there's still a lot to give, unless they are fighting
FTR. Somebody check on FTR for me, man. Dax's
Twitter's gone. Like
Dax and Cash, Dax is not tweeting anymore, man. He's
Twitter's
done.
Gone.
His Twitter's gone. He's taking a break from Twitter.
I think
their bios
stole his Twitter a little bit.
Their bios talk about how they're the second best tag team in professional wrestling. It's just, that you could tell that they're a little frustrated, rightfully so, of not being involved in this tag title tournament. You got to think about it, right? They beat Proud and Powerful. They beat Santana Ortiz. Yeah. How are they not in the mix? It is kind of frustrating as an FTR fanboy myself. Right. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I'm not going to complain if we get to end up seeing the Lucha Bros go against the Young Bucks in a steel cage. Can you imagine how exciting that match would be? The athleticism.
On your next jacket.
Woo! That's sharp. That's sharp.
But you're right, man. Lucha. Oh my gosh, Lucha Bros and Young Bucks is a dream match for me. So please make that happen.
In a cage, bro. I mean,
who's buying this jacket?
I want the shirt. I want the jacket. I want it all. CM Punk's merch. Yeah, sign me up. Everybody's signing Crayfish up for all sorts of unique looks and gear. I'm going to look like a complete moron at All Out.
You're going to have the Darby face paint. You're going to have the golf or the bowling shirt underneath the jacket with a DMD shirt underneath the bowling shirt. And
SPD will give me a dangly. I'll have it all, man. Yeah. I will look like a complete moron at All Out, and I will be the happiest. I'll be the happiest moron in the entire building. I will love it. I'll probably have no voice either, so people will just be able to make fun of me, and I won't be able to say anything while I suck on some lifesavers trying to gain voice back.
Hear me like, go Darby.
But Bonds, while I still have my voice, SPD. You want to get into the next matchup because honestly, in this show, there are few matches that impact All Out as much as the one that we are going to see. I know that you want to get into what happens with CM Punk afterwards, and we can touch on that really quick. But I'm chomping.
We can talk about the rest of the card, then we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll get rid of the rest. We'll talk about the rest of the card, then we can always go back to CM Punk a little bit. I mean, we should give the rest of the card some respect here.
Yeah. Correct. This was a good show. And as you said, and SPD, you said it early on.
Are we going to get our chest painted?
I got plenty of surface area, folks. I am more than happy. I will be more than happy to rep that. But SPD, you said it early on. Following up that CM Punk debut, that's really tough. That kudos to Private Party and Jurassic Express. And Mindrunner says it. There was a card. I think all of us were like,
didn't even matter.
Does it even? But credit to them for coming out and having being able to, especially that the crowd was not focused on at the beginning they weren't thinking about that match, but they won the crowd over. And to me, every time I see Private Party, I know that I'm the heel of this group, but every time I see them, I like them more. Awesome. I know that Jurassic Express is the babyface crew here, and everybody loves Jurassic Express. SPD, nobody loves Luchasaurus more than you. I get it. But I'm really impressed by what we've been seeing out of Private Party, in-ring and character.
Always.
I'm really digging what they're doing.
A+ stuff right now. Yeah, like you said, both in and out of the ring. They continue to impress. They've always been that high flying team that I've loved. Now they just have elevated it more. My wife was watching the show with me, believe it or not, And when Isaiah Cassidy screamed when Luchasaurus threw him, like a high pitched scream, he cracked up so loud because there's that. And then that shooting star press off the ropes by Quinn, like, oh my gosh, and he barely hit Lucha. Like,
SPD is the moves guy. I love that. You are the moves guy of our team, brother. I love that about you.
The standout definitely was obviously Jungle Boy. Anytime he's in the ring, he is such a huge standout person, because that first 5 minutes that he had, or first like 2 minutes even was Isaiah, they're going back and forth and doing these in-ring moves and these kick-ups and flips and this and that and the other. I was like, dang, this is like the quickest I've seen Jungle Boy. And that's what I'm curious about, like when we see Punk versus Darby, how quick is Punk? What kind of ring rust are we going to see, or at what pace of a match? Because you have a Jungle Boy that sets high-paced match. You have a Sammy Guevara that has high-paced matches. And MJF has a slower-paced match up to more of an MJF speed. Kenny Omega can slow the pace down and then speed it back up. So that would be a good CM Punk transition. So you have these high-energy younger guys, and Darby Allin is one of those. So it's going to be what we're going to see out of CM Punk very soon. So Jungle Boy killed it tonight. And obviously this was a great way to keep the crowd going. Yep. And they did the best they could. And I think they delivered tenfold. So because of that, what they were given, it was a perfect placement of the match. And I loved how the Young Bucks came out, and Brandon Cutler, I can't say enough of good stuff about him. The guy is absolutely killing it. He's cold spraying the seats. He's cold spraying their back.
That probably would be awesome to have cold spray seats, though. I mean,
I would love one right now. I would love one right now.
Feel good.
Man, I can't say enough good stuff about Cutler,
Bonds, lead writer of our team here, and quite honestly, being transparent, probably the most critical of Jurassic Express, especially Luchasaurus of our team. Yeah. You've always kind of tempered SPD's pure joy, and you balanced out our crew. But in your column this week, your tone, I thought I had to double check that you wrote it, not SPD, because it was a gushing column about what you saw out of Jurassic Express.
Yeah,
and particularly Luchasaurus tonight. This big fella, again, you're getting to see a little bit more of him. And I think that what I'm starting to see as a fan was Jurassic Express early on, man, this was about getting JB over. This was about exposing the fans to this young talent and what JB can do. Because so many of us, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen what Luchasaurus can do before he got to AEW. I've seen what he can do as a big man who's got the kicks and the flips of the best in the world, right? So I've seen that, but JB was a new homegrown talent. And I think that early on, this team was really about establishing him and connecting him with the fans.
Right.
What were your thoughts about them going over Private Party tonight? Kind of fresh off the heels of losing in kind of a lousy way to the Bucks, right?
Yeah.
But winning this match. And what are your thoughts and predictions going forward in this tournament?
Well, man, I think that it was smart to have them go over. I love both of these teams. I'll be honest. I love both these teams. But, again, the placement in the card was brilliant. Having them go over was a way to get the crowd back into the show and not having it just be about CM Punk. Man, Luchasaurus has been able to showcase himself a little more. For a long time, especially when they were building up Jungle Boy, we've seen he's going in there for those quick 30 seconds of offense. That's been his thing. And now he's starting to actually get more time out there, which is good. Like, when you got a guy that's as big as him and as athletic as him, utilize him. Utilize the guy, right?
Right.
So now they're utilizing him in a more efficient way, in my opinion. Which is why I liked the match on Wednesday so much. He was a way bigger part of that match than he's been in any TV match in a long time.
Yep.
And I love that they went over. And I think that, like, they're so over as a team that having them come out right after Punk was so smart to get the crowd back on the show.
Yep.
Refocus everybody up on the wrestling.
Good
and
call.
It worked out so well. And for the tournament, man, like, I don't know. I think that Jurassic Express has a chance to go all the way because they barely lost to the Young Bucks. They showed the man, like, if there wasn't all that cheating at the end,
and you were so frustrated by and usually you find the Elite's antics comical, funny. But I felt like it kind of hit that threshold for you during that Bucks versus Jurassic Express match. You kind of had enough at that point. I could tell you were frustrated on behalf of JB and Luchasaurus and Marco.
Why have rules if we're gonna just?
Why even have rules?
Is what you said. 7-on-2 match,
right? You know? So and that would make a lot of sense to have the story, right, of Jurassic Express getting through this tournament and then being in a steel cage where all that outside noise
doesn't matter.
That's a good point.
And again, we got to remember what happened to Jungle Boy in his title match. The same thing happened in his title match. He had Kenny Omega beat. He beat Kenny Omega in that match.
Killing it, Bonds. You're right.
Been the champ, and like he had him for 3, and the ref was out because of Don Callis. And
you're right.
This, this is going to be like potentially a long term because AEW likes to stretch it out. Setting up like, okay, this is their ultimate revenge. If they can beat the Young Bucks, get those belts, then it all comes full circle. Both of those times they got screwed out of the belts, they don't matter anymore because now they're the champs.
I like it. And even for me, and again, my initial thought was, man, and it's probably because of SPD, but my initial thought was Lucha Bros versus the Bucks.
And that match would be great too.
That would be a home run, right?
That's what I want regardless.
It would be an absolute killer matchup. And you think about what Rey Fenix could do inside of a steel cage, off a steel cage. My mind is already freaking out about that. But when we look at
both of those guys, unreal.
We look at the story of the storylines going on right now, and you guys talked about it. Maybe no Hangman at All Out.
Oh, that's
you look
sad.
You look at the story of what's going on. It makes a lot more sense that Jurassic Express goes against the Bucks, with Christian going against Kenny, with what Bonds just talked about, with the screw jobs that Jurassic Express has had over and over and over again.
Storyline, it does make sense, yeah.
With how over they are naturally as baby faces, it makes a lot of sense because let's be honest, guys. Even though I want to see the Golden Triangle more than anybody, the Lucha Bros being in the title picture has just kind of started to come up, basically as an extension off of the Andrade Pac feud, where they're kind of teasing that being a part of that matchup, and I think it makes a lot more. It does make sense, as Bond pointed out. Now, again, if you want to lean into that story of the Death Triangle with Pac and the Lucha Brothers and Andrade, and really where do their allegiances fall between Pac and Andrade? Now that would be a great story.
Interesting. They could set up like they win the titles and maybe Pac loses to Andrade. Then you kind of raise those questions, man. Like, okay, do we really want to be aligned with Pac here? Like, if he loses to Andrade and they end up being the tag champs,
sacrilegious. Don't say it.
I know. I'm just saying.
It's probably good.
That would lead to good TV.
I get it.
Really good TV.
You're right.
And then, Andrade did hint at them becoming tag team champions, or in that promo. So it's like, and the Lucha Bros just became the AAA tag team champions too. So, storyline purposes, yes, you make valid points about Jungle Boy or Jurassic Express and Christian Cage, all the 3-on-3 going for gold. You could stretch that out and do a trios match and stuff like that. But I think it would be. You could still further that feud even if it was Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks. Young Bucks try to come out and mess with the title match, and then Jurassic Express come out and help them out, fight off the Young Bucks. And then right afterwards, the next Dynamite, you have a 3-on-3 match. And so you continue in that. So, oh man, it's very exciting stuff for sure.
I've always been a fan of tournaments since I was a kid. I mean,
that's the most fun way to get contenders.
And we've had our own mock tournaments too.
Yes, we have.
We have. That was fun.
I like it. I like that we are guessing, right? I like that we're left wondering, and that there are multiple options that would not only lead to great matchups, but make sense in the framework of the stories. Yeah. Right. Makes sense in the framework of the stories. There was one thing, and Rampage has been 2 episodes deep now, guys, and Rampage has been absolutely incredible.
We'll be at the next live one.
Last week's show, Bonds and I talked about it. What was the thing that you were most excited about, and what was the one thing you were disappointed about Rampage? And your boy Crayfish here, the one thing I said that I was disappointed about with Rampage is that we did not get to see Jade Cargill. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like Rampage feels like a platform that Jade is going to be just blow up as a and we've said it from the minute we saw Jade. She feels like a star, right? She feels like she's just we know she's raw. We know that she's got room to grow as an in-ring performer, and I think that Jade recognizes that. There's nothing wrong with that, but
she's been in the business very little.
There's a star feel to her presentation, and I felt like Rampage was a platform for her to really break through. And I know there are Dynamite Download fans out there that want to hear our take on Jade.
Yeah,
and we don't always post our reactions after Dynamite because Bonds. We've talked about it. Her progression as a character has really inched along very slowly up to this point.
Yeah.
Having a dominant performance, and Mark Henry, kudos to him, SPD, you've said it tonight. Henry killed it in commentary tonight. Mark Henry's comment about how Jade is 9-0 and 4 of her last matches, now 10-0, and 5 of her last matches have gone less than 2 minutes. We're starting to build that streak of dominance with Jade that calls back on some, we're talking about nostalgia and getting all those good feels, calls on those good nostalgic tones of Goldberg from the
not
past.
Oldberg, Goldberg.
Not what we're seeing now. The old Goldberg, those feelings of watching a raw, undeniable, like just presence,
freakish talent.
Yeah, she's a living superhero, and I mean everything about her. Since we've seen her since day one, her logo, her walk to the ring, her music, her look, her gimmick, her hair color, just everything is just like literally you go to like a caricature or artist and like draw a superhero, and that's her, and a living superhero, and the way she's presented. Yes, we all want more of her. Whether it be more matches, more squash matches, or more just time in the ring. Like, I think this just kind of fell to the gauntlet of running out of time and they had to trim a little bit out of it. I think we would have got a little bit more out of it because we don't usually see squash matches on TV. That's left to dark and elevation. So sadly, the totem pole gets cut, most of the time in the women's matches, unfortunately. But it's still established her on national level. We're going to see the TV ratings come out here, and it's going to be incredible, I'm sure, with the CM Punk debut. And so for her to be shown, I don't know. I mean, regardless, it's a win-win. I mean, they sold out at the United Center, so it does. What's more important, selling out the arena for the live fans or the TV ratings? I don't know, but and the free ice cream bars and T-shirts. So, but. The way she's been presented, you said it right, Crayfish, inching along. We've all wanted, the gas pedal pushed, but she's, idling,
not
right?
Ready yet. Maybe not ready yet. And that's okay. I think that, you allow that momentum to build while and guys, we just had our draft. Think about the talent.
Jade was on my team.
Think about how far, and hey, one of the few people under 35 on your team. Congratulations.
A lot of gold on my team, though.
But jokes aside, there's a lot of from when this company started to where they are now, they've grown so much in the women's division. There's a lot of talent and a lot of stars that are building in this company with the women's division. Jade certainly feels like she's on the cusp. But I was a little surprised. I think that. Kiera Hogan to me is a talent that I want to see more out of. I think that I've been exposed. I'll drop that line again tonight. I've been exposed to
the
her
cracks of your foundation have been exposed.
Her talent. I've been exposed to her talent through this partnership of the Forbidden Door being broken down between Impact and AEW. Big
pickup.
I think that she's got a lot of talent, and she talks.
Where's she from? I don't know. Educate
Impact.
me. Okay.
Impact. She was former Impact Women's Tag Team Champion with Fire and Ice. A lot of talent.
She deserves her better than tonight.
Oh gosh, yeah, dude. And I know that there's only so much we can do as far as watching all the talent. But you go back and watch what she did on Dark. This girl can go, man. This girl has a lot of talent. We're not going to talk about the booty. We're SPD and I are married men. We'll just say this.
Jungle Boy.
Oh, the Jungle Booty.
Sorry. Mine in the gutter. Go ahead, Bonds. Go ahead and take this one from me before I get myself in trouble.
Oh no. Yeah, man. I don't mind the squash here. I think that it's probably a good thing to have these squash. Oh, it's okay, bro. It's okay. Laugh it out.
Oh God. All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Having the squash matches are good, but I do worry that you can't have it all the time with Jade. You have to have some longer matches, because if every match turns into a squash match, then you're eventually going to kind of limit what she can do in the ring. Kind of like you saw with Goldberg, man. Goldberg got exposed in his career when he had to have longer matches. That's
exposed.
Yep. He didn't even try. It was
that's our word right there of the night. The exposed.
That's going to be our new slogan, I guess. Buckle up and exposed.
Don't get exposed.
Don't get exposed. But you can't have that happen all the time. But I think that tonight, especially with 40 minutes to have a wrestling show after the promo.
We're going off the rails quick here.
Yeah.
Jungle Booty.
I wish we could have a dance party, but we'll get demonetized.
Let's bring it back in. Bring it back in. Again, I was trying to point out that I see a lot of talent in Kiera Hogan. I've seen what she can do outside of AEW. Tonight was not a reflection of that, but the build to this match was. If you follow her on social media, her and Jade were chirping at each other all week. I think there's a lot of excitement behind what she can do. A lot of her athleticism, her trash talk, her pedigree with her experience. She's not coming in here green, right? There's a lot to like with what we saw. And again, I feel like they got squeezed. SPD, I think you're right on the money. I think that all the things that happened in the show, even the main event, it felt like got tightened up a little bit.
I was texting you guys. I was like, how are they going to get this in? Because that tag match, the first match ended at like 20 minutes left almost.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Exactly.
But they made it work for sure. And we got to see Jade, which was the main thing, like you said, missing on Rampage, because we know this is going to be a platform for her to really elevate and her career and her stardom and get more eyes on her, as deservedly so, because she is a star for sure.
Powerhouse.
But it did get cut a little short. And like you said, the main event, they were able to get their little, backstage promos, which is a new thing for Rampage with Mark Henry. I do like that too. I think that's a cool thing.
This week was
we're checking in before the main event, and we're talking with both guys, and so they get a chance to, talk smack to each other. And Moxley's line about how what was his line? How he couldn't impregnate him.
Yeah, Garcia has a better chance of getting me pregnant than tapping me out in the middle of that ring. That was a hell of a line. Moxley's on fire, man. I mean, yeah. I think Moxley has kind of become an unsung hero over the last few months of AEW.
Mm-hmm.
SPD, you and I have
silently, right?
He sort of has slipped into the background a little bit, and it's great because he's allowed other stars to come to the forefront, right? But Mox is done playing games, man. I think that the energy, the landscape of AEW, the way that this is going right now, I think Mox sees, it's time to step back up into the forefront. AEW needs another conquering hero. They need that badass good guy that only Mox can deliver, man. This dude's promo work is always – I mean, Bonds, I was like – this promo on Dynamite, I was talking about what an incredible one to myself, but hearing you kind of – you and SPD talk about it on this week's show, this is more the same from Jon Moxley. I mean, this has become the standard from this guy. There's very few people who can do what he can do right now.
Always on fire.
Be as good as he can be. His intensity in the ring and on the mic. Mox is at the top of his game.
He really is.
Like there's maybe like two other people on the roster that deliver as consistently as him on the microphone. this dude is just on another level now, and it just makes me so happy to see because, again, we're seeing stuff on the internet this week. Again, Roman can't shut his mouth. There's a bunch of stuff about John Moxley too. About
he's trying to take the spotlight.
They're
doing whatever they can. Good luck.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good luck after tonight. Thanks, Vince. But like, I don't know, man. I think that he's just on a different level. Like, this guy is the benchmark in the singles division, man. Like,
true.
There's nobody.
That's a good point.
Even though Kenny's the champ, man, like, there's nobody that's better just all around as a performer in that division right now than John Moxley. And he went out there tonight. That little promo he had was hilarious. And
back turned most of the promo. Didn't even
Yeah, he didn't care. It didn't matter. He's just like, Daniel Garcia, who the hell is this guy? I don't care. You have a better chance of getting me pregnant than make me tap out. Like, that's hilarious. And that's like something only John Moxley could deliver.
Yep.
And again, he's just a different cat, different kind of promos, like super fast paced, super intense. And the match itself was kind of the same. And Garcia got some stuff in, which
surprisingly,
was cool.
yeah.
Right. I was worried that, oh man, we're gonna have 2 squashes on this show.
Right.
And it ended up being more of like, okay, like Garcia got some stuff in, which is good. You don't want to squash the 22-year-old kid that
has some buzz going over right now. Yeah.
He's over, man. Like
2.0
and are doing good work.
You want to taste?
Yeah, dude, they're great.
You want to taste?
I'm already a big fan of these guys. I think they're funny. They're
growing on me
very quickly. And again, in a division where we see potentially the Young Bucks maybe losing these titles here soon, having these teams and with Max Caster suspended for 18 months and going to sensitivity training,
18 months.
I'm just kidding. However many months he's gone, but we have to have some more of these heel teams that can do stuff.
Booty butt.
And they've been the heel, beat up team how many nights in a row to kind of close out the show and give the fans like the high moment, like which you saw the high spot with Sting and Darby and all that. Like they've been the laughing end of the joke, or essentially. So, like, where do you see John Moxley on the All Out card? What about you guys in the chat? Like, if you guys have, where would you book John Moxley?
Well, the initial rumors were that Moxley was going to go, maybe fight for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship, but I don't see that. I mean, it's tough, awesome, man. With what we're seeing with 2.0, do you potentially put Kingston and Moxley against 2.0? I don't know, man.
I feel like that'd be buy-in quality match. Like, it would go over and get the fans going for sure, but
right.
I don't.
That's what I've been hearing.
That's not a pay-per-view quality match, personally. When you have like 4 pay-per-views,
I think it's too soon. It's too soon to have them in.
Too soon. All right, I'm with you. A lot of people.
What do you think?
The chat are talking IWGP title.
I'm with the chat, man. That would be a
big match, man.
Blast open that forbidden door, man.
It would,
because that's a match. Get the New Japan audience in on it, because he's a legend. You get a legend in here, man. Like, that's like bringing over one of the top guys ever for New Japan, and have him come over with John Moxley and just have him have a banger. And even if Moxley doesn't win, that match is going to get eyes on the product. That match is going to do a ton for AEW, because the buy rate in Japan, I'm assuming
that's a great point. AEW is a smart business, right? Very smart company. You think about the buy rates. CM Punk on this card now, and if you bring in that, Paul White being on this card, QT Marshall being on this card, obviously getting those bowling fans to get pulled in here, and then
bowling leagues.
And then you bring in that Japanese audience with that New Japan tie-in, Moxley's roots going back and having that connection there makes a lot of sense. And you could really, really get that buy rate of that pay-per-view through the roof.
Yes,
that makes a lot of sense.
Biggest buy rate in any AEW show. And I don't think it's going to be close.
I like it.
That's what they said. It's going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, we're probably almost halfway or a little over halfway of filling up the card, and a company that's full tag teams, we only have 1 tag team match right now. So, like, if you did throw the Moxley Kingston versus 2.0, like, It would fit on there, but I don't think. I think that, like I said, would be a buy-in type of match, or I don't know, or the first match of the night, so you can get those, pop entrants, start the night on a high note.
You're gonna have
it would work.
I get what you're saying, though.
But I would prefer a singles match with Moxley because he's such a warrior, and to do more
Moxley and singles stuff too.
Yeah, I agree. I get it. And we've seen the Eddie Kingston Moxley dynamic, and rocking my Eddie Kingston tank top down here in Florida. We've seen that dynamic play out, and there's only so much I can tolerate of seeing Kingston get his ass whooped so that Moxley can get the hot tag. Right. We got to see my guy Kingston get a little offense too, man. Yeah, we got to go back to those days of seeing Kingston chopping people's chests more red than mine. You got to see that. You got to see that. So, if Moxley goes and gets that title shot, what do you see for our guy Kingston? Because he has a lot on his plate right now, folks. He's in the Redeemer's path right now. Is he going to survive and make it to All Out? That's the question.
When or if is that match?
Yeah. Is it next week?
No, it was not officially announced.
Is it going to be at All Out? Because that would be an awesome match for All Out. Personally,
it would be an awesome match for All Out.
Because I would be totally fine with that being the TNT match on All Out. If they have him and Kingston go at it, that'd be great.
It would be.
And I would like to see Miro finally get into a feud with somebody, not just have these one-offs. And the one-offs have been great. Miro is doing great stuff, but if he's going to have something, man, like he's so on fire on the mic right now, throw him against Eddie Kingston. You just turned Kingston face with Mox. He's been face for a couple months now. Have him go up against Miro, who's super over but still a heel.
Right.
And then you could have them have a couple matches. Maybe, there's some BS that goes on. Kingston's had a lot of feuds with a lot of people recently too, so you could always involve some other people in this match. You could have somebody come in and interfere. Because again, there's so many storylines that intersect in AEW that there are a lot of like matches that are random that you could see like, okay, something could happen because of this guy that has been here, this guy that's been here, a ton of different stuff. They've been feuding with the Bucks, been feuding with just a ton of different people. And with 2.0, maybe 2.0 comes out and attacks Eddie Kingston, costs him the TNT title shot. Who knows, man? Like that would be really cool. And then you start seeing some really cool like matches one-off.
I like it. If they can hold off Kingston versus Miro until All Out,
just a couple weeks, which is the problem.
It's not that long. It's not that long. Miro the Redeemer challenged him. They, like you guys have said, they have not announced when that match is going to happen.
Chris.
They do not know how. They haven't announced that. And if you go into next week's show and you have Kingston respond, then you can milk that. You can stretch it out. You can milk it, and you could then have Moxley getting a title shot and Kingston getting a title shot at the pay-per-view. And who wouldn't want to see that, right? I mean that seems like giving those guys the credit that they deserve for putting in all the work that they put in over the last few months here.
And it would really bring in a lot of if we talk about Jurassic Express and Christian, right? We're getting all these storylines that have been really at the forefront of the show on Dynamite. The Christian stuff with the Elite, Jurassic Express, Kingston and Moxley, and all these guys are getting title shots, and they're getting in these matches. These are the people that have been on TV, that have been there every week, that's been entertaining us, doing their part, and they're getting on the pay-per-view, well-deserved, in my opinion. And these are the kind of matches that I think would be really just fun because the payoff for all this stuff that we've sat through for months.
The payoff.
Talking
about payoff?
We won a game. But I think the payoff for all these things, like add an All Out, when there's only 4 pay-per-views a year, it feels like very important.
Yeah.
And we talk about, and we've talked about this before, every pay-per-view, it feels like the start of a new season of a TV show.
Yep.
And this could be that new start of a TV show where we see a couple title changes. We see some stuff go down that like, oh man, like this might be a new hot feud going into this.
Well, let me ask it right now. Do you see there's a lot of people buzzing about Sammy versus Miro because of what Miro did to Fuego and his beef with Fuego getting a contract, Fuego being Sammy's best friend.
All right.
We're talking, obviously, the Redeemer has challenged Eddie Kingston. Where if booking by Bonds was booking All Out, and especially Miro, it's always fascinating to hear your takes on Miro, one of your favorites.
I'd have him wrestle the whole roster and go
and destroy them all, just rip their spines out. Who would you book him as his opponent?
Well, I would stick with Eddie because personally, I don't think what he did in Miro is different than, or what Miro did to Fuego is different than what he did to anybody else. It was just another match for him. It was quick. It was, like Fuego had that beginning where it looked like, oh man, like he could upset him because of getting that quick start. But, it was just another match. He called him out a little bit in the promo, which, it's more going to his character. I don't think it was ripping him. It was like, okay, like you still got your contract. Like you didn't have to earn it kind of thing. Like you're not forgiven. And it was just more to a character building thing for Miro. And I like that. So I would keep it on what's going, have him keep calling people out, have Eddie be that guy and have that be All Out because that match. And I said that in the column this week. If you haven't read it, check it out. I said that, man, like this is the biggest match for Miro since Lance Archer.
Yeah.
Against Eddie Kingston. And I think that is a pay-per-view worthy. That's a pay-per-view quality match. Eddie Kingston's awesome. He's over. Miro is amazing on the mic right now and over. Like his stuff has been just fantastic. Ever since he's won that TNT title, he's been ascending every week. Which is great to see as somebody who likes the guy, but even just seeing his character as somebody that we were all kind of down on maybe 6 months ago, looking at him now and where he is just a breath of fresh air. He is the monster of AEW. So having him against a guy who's a scrappy, tough, hard-nosed, like just, indie guy who's been an indie performer like his whole career. And he's in his, he's almost 40 and he's been like just scrapping, like trying to get to the top his whole career. Have him go against a dude who's just a physical machine.
Love what you're saying.
A great story. And I'd love to see that Sammy match on the line, but I don't think anything happened on Miro's end that would justify like scrapping a match with Eddie Kingston. I'd rather see that match.
I'm with you. I think that's a great call by you. That said, that leaves a lot of names that we're still wondering. You talked about it, Bonds, like paying, like giving people who have been giving us so much entertainment over the course of this year, giving All Out as a stage, allowing them to have that. There's still
I just wrote down 11 names, and I want to do rapid fire. You guys say yes or no if you think they're on the All Out card. Rapid fire. Don't overthink it. All I want is a yes or no, or a thumbs up or thumbs down.
We'll do that. So then we're not talking over each other.
So I wrote down 11 names. Orange Cassidy on the card or not? Matt Hardy. Wrestling.
Yeah, Orange Cassidy not wrestling.
Chris Jericho. He's on the marquee for it. Hangman Adam Page. Ricky Starks. Malachi Black. But where? That'd be a good thing to talk about. Dark Order. I want them on there, but I don't see where. Give me your thumb. Lance Archer. Wardlow.
Damn. Why you gotta throw that out there? It hurts.
Lana.
No.
Lana debut.
Okay, maybe. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's too much of a guess. I'm gonna say
all right, what about Bryan Danielson?
What about
debut?
Sammy and MJF? And
what about Brock Lesnar?
No, but those are. I mean, like I feel like.
I know. I'm just kidding.
What about Sammy?
We could have gone through the whole roster, bro. I just picked 10 ones that were just coming to my mind, and it was kind of crazy. It's just like so
many stars that
we're gonna see like where like Malachi Black needs to be to continue his momentum. Like where do you put him? You like I said, do you do a Dustin Rhodes match? Like I don't think that's Dustin Rhodes continued to put on awesome matches at his age. consistently. But what do you do? What would you do with Malachi Black?
We all agree that he's going to be on the show. So
yes.
That's a
Where
great
would you book
question.
him? What about you guys in the chat? How would you book Malachi Black at All Out? But while we're talking this through.
Personally, I would like to see more finality to the Cody stuff. I know it'd be a rematch, but after how quickly he beat Cody on Dynamite, I would like to see, yes, Malachi and Cody too.
Already?
Yes, because it was such a quick match, and it was such a shocking match.
Right.
And I think that having a rematch that quick, you'd be able to make it a longer match, make it a little more even, and then if he beats Cody again, you can have like
not a fluke anymore.
It's not a fluke, and you give it like because a match that quick, no matter who it is a fluke match. Like even it like you know what I mean? Like that's
I get it.
That doesn't happen. Like Malachi Black, no matter how good he is, not that much better than Cody Rhodes.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Cody Rhodes was the TNT champion for a long time. He's not that much better than Cody. So if you have Black, have that second match, you cement him in there. Okay, like this guy is legit. This guy beat him in a long match, and now you can have like him transition to another storyline, or maybe feud with Cody's stable that he's been with. Maybe with Dustin, maybe with Brock Anderson if Brock Anderson shows out well. Exactly, man. Like, and I'm curious to see where that goes. Personally, I like that.
Yeah.
But, I would like to see Cody come back maybe on Wednesday or maybe Friday, and maybe call him out, be like, hey man, like, you beat me, and maybe even say it was a fluke. Say like, you beat me very quick. Like you shocked me, but I'm ready for you. Like, let's have a match All Out. So let's see if
I wouldn't even I mean, for me with Brock facing Malachi, and put basically Brock going against his dad's wishes, and basically defying his dad's warnings about what he's getting himself into.
Yeah,
I would have Malachi Black just absolutely mercilessly destroy Brock, and let Brock shine by being a kid who won't give up and keeps coming back or whatever. Maybe hits a nice, maybe have him hit a nice signature spine buster, give him something like that, but let it be a very convincing, and almost let Malachi toy with him. Like almost to feel like he's tormenting
That's where
him.
You bring Cody back.
And then you have Cody come back and try to be that conquering hero, that savior to Brock. And at that point, run Malachi off. You don't even need to have this huge promo battle. You just like right there. The landscape has already been set for these two. The foundation is there. Cody, then you can touch on. He had a moment where he was going to retire or walk away, and Malachi ruined that. And then you have all those emotions tied into this feud. And I feel like if you don't strike while the iron's hot, if you don't go all in on that soon, you run the risk of people, not necessarily forgetting, but not caring. And so tap into it now. And then at All Out, as Bonds talked about, Cody fights valiantly, loses again. And that's when Cody has his send off and is allowed to kind of take his break and do his own thing. Because the last time we saw that, Cody was hinting at wanting to, maybe walking away and maybe taking that time, and Malachi didn't even give him that chance. And he interrupted that segment and did so in a kind of an awful way.
Disrespectful.
I think that makes sense to me, and it allows that story it breathes life into it, and it makes Malachi's actions that much more convincing at a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
When you put you put that final nail in the coffin, so to speak, in Cody's career, maybe that's when he leaves the boot in the ring and walks away.
See, I would book it different. I think the crowd, especially being a Chicago crowd with Dynamite download there, the crowd would turn on Cody very extreme versus Black, and I don't think that's the look you want to go with Cody. That's why I thought of Dustin. Malachi putting out Brock really easily, and then Aaron coming to save him, and then Aaron taking another kick, and then Dustin coming out to kind of like rescue them. Malachi runs out of the ring, and then that'll set up the Dustin versus Malachi. Then Malachi puts down Dustin, and then essentially he moves on from the Nightmare family for now, and you keep Cody off TV until you have that ultimate payoff where the time has passed, where the heat on Cody versus Black, which the fans are so over for, has kind of dissolved, and then Malachi kind of finds his ground, whether is he baby, is he heel, where's he going, and then you have Cody re-debut, not necessarily against Black, but maybe as against some major heel that's kind of like unstopping, maybe down the line an MJF or some. Obviously, we say that because he's the number one heel, but I would prefer Cody not to come back right now, just because I know the fans are going to turn on him big time.
Well, I don't know, man. I feel like you can't run away from that. I respectfully disagree. I feel like Malachi Black is not, even though he's getting big pops.
Yeah,
I know that you desperately want to get those reinforcements on Team Babyface, but he's not a babyface.
Eventually, the crowd will treat him like a heel. It's just like it's the excitement of his debut and the fact that his character's so cool and interesting. I do think that that's part of it. Once the novelty of that wears off, I think that it'll balance itself out a little bit more.
Yeah. That's how I feel. Yeah. That's how I feel. I feel like, right now he's hot, new thing. The guy's obviously got a cool entrance. He's got a cool vibe to him. And there's a lot to like about Malachi, right? But I think that like it'll all kind of settle itself out, and I think that people will eventually react to him in that way. I think that he gets pops now, but I don't know, SPD. I disagree. I think that SPD.
It's the same problem as Britt Baker,
right?
Like you can't treat Britt like just because Britt gets a huge pop doesn't mean you can treat her like a baby face.
Say it. That's right. She's not going anywhere, SPD.
She's on Team Baby, bro.
Yeah, right.
Just accept it.
Out of here. Ain't
just accept it.
Boss. No way.
You'll see when we're in Chicago.
Team Heel for life, baby.
I mean, we'll cheer for her at Chicago. We will put her on Team Babyface that night. But you know what I mean? I don't know. Crayfish definitely will.
Yeah, absolutely. You know it. Absolutely.
So, of those people you gave thumbs up to, what match do you want to see on the card? Pay-per-view quality of those. Like, I feel like AEW and Dark Order are too important not to feature in some aspect, whether it be a buy-in or something like that. Like, we want to see Johnny Hungy come out with a massive pop, and it seems like shaping up where we'll get Man of Year type of Lance Archer. That would be another fun match for sure on the card.
Yep.
Something like that. But who do you want to, like, what do you do with Pinnacle and Inner Circle? We got to talk about that. What do you do with that?
Well, I mean, to me, man, with FTR and what's going on with them, it's really hard to tell where they're going to go. I would have said for sure a rematch of Santana Ortiz versus FTR would make a lot of sense here, but I think they maybe hold off on that until they get to Arthur Ashe Stadium, getting in New York, giving Santana Ortiz that moment in the home crowd to get that win after losing to FTR last. So I thought for sure that those guys would be on the pay-per-view, but the closer we get to All Out and when I look at the way the card's shaping up, I think that maybe they hold off on that. It almost feels sacrilegious, but there's nothing in this feud right now that stands out as has to be on All Out. We thought that MJF versus Jericho was the shoe-in. Yeah. That was the match. And now, I mean, do you do Sammy versus MJF? Because neither one of those guys has an opportunity, right? Really has a clear match at MJF.
You run it back again?
Well, Sammy versus MJF, I would think that would be a good opportunity for him to get the first win over MJF.
I just don't know if the builds.
But do they do that? That feels epic. That feels like something you. But I mean, I don't. That's a great question. Do they run it back? I don't think so. I mean, dude, MJF's beat Jericho. He's 3-0 against him.
Yeah. And week, like that was a clean win, man.
That's what I was gonna say, man. I know I wasn't there on Dynamite Download with you guys, man, but my reaction to that match was like, guys, Jericho cheated in that match. Jericho used Floyd in that match. MJF beat Jericho and overcame a baseball bat shot to the gut.
Right.
MJF won that match pretty convincingly to me. making Jericho tap out in the middle of the ring. I don't know if there's heat there or if there's reasoning behind seeing Jericho get another match against MJF. I don't see it.
Wow.
I agree. I want to see the Pinnacle move on, frankly.
It feels like it feels like they've won this war.
Yeah, I want to see that happen. Maybe you see the tag team still go at it, but like as far as MJF goes, like unless it's Sammy Guevara, I don't want to see any more Inner Circle versus like again, we've seen him beat Chris Jericho 3 times, and while I love those matches, they're great. Like I'm not going to complain if we get it again, but at this point, it's like okay, well if he beats MJF, he's 1-3 against him. Cool,
yeah,
right. Like it doesn't like so you have to beat him like 3 more times to be up on him, and I don't see that happening. So to me. I think that unless they build something very quickly with MJF, with somebody to have a match, I don't know if he's going to be on the card, which is crazy to me. But look at what the card we have already.
This card is insane.
It's, like AEW's roster is so good that we're bound to not have talent on the card like every pay-per-view, unfortunately.
You're right.
And that's why we have to enjoy the Dynamites, because on Dynamite, we get 2 hours that are so packed up that I have to stay up until 3 o'clock the next day writing about it. You know what I mean? And it's like there's so much that happens, and it's in 2 hours. It feels like a 4-hour show.
We talk about it all the time, man. Dynamite feels like a mini pay-per-view. It feels like that every single week, man. It really does.
Yeah, and I think that this like just because MJF isn't on the card doesn't mean like okay, like it's not going to be a big deal. You can have him do some commentary. That'd be great for the people at home. For the people,
he doesn't wrestle that much, anyways.
Yeah, that's right. True. Exactly. You don't have to have him on the card. Sammy Guevara, like again, maybe have him do some random. Like they could still set up some stuff.
Sammy had a big moment just this last week.
Yeah, and again, you could have some like cool stuff. Like you could have like a tag team battle royale for the next contender and have him team up with Fuego or something. Like do something cool, like just random like that. Yeah. That'd be neat, right? Like just have something random.
Neat.
That'd be neat.
That'd be neat.
Speaking of battle royals, though, let's get into it because
we'll transition into that.
Yeah, because I mean, like we could go on about who's going to be on this card, who's not, and guys, I know that it feels like All Out is tomorrow with all the buzz that we have, but just you said it yourself, Bonds. Dynamite, they somehow, some way jam-pack so much into that show that this time next week, we're going to have a very different idea of what's going to happen, man. It's like there's so much is going to happen on next week's episode of Dynamite that we're all going to be like, okay, so yeah. Speaking of that,
we change our tunes quick because we can never book it right because there's so much up their sleeve.
Things change every time there's a show.
The landscape changes.
You just mentioned Battle Royal.
Yeah.
If you're booking it, Bonds, and again, we don't know what they're going to do. Who wins the women's battle royal?
Who's all in it?
Do we have a list? One is announced.
Yeah,
no one's announced. Okay,
just think every woman is okay. All right,
Thunder Rosa. You put her there. You have Britt wrestle Statlander at All Out. Britt goes over, and then Thunder Rosa is the next opponent, and then you build that long-term feud with Thunder and Britt Baker, and that's where you finally get that in there because I think it's really smart having her go against Statlander, who's a huge baby face, gets a big crowd reaction. She's teamed up with one of the hottest stables in terms of crowd reaction. Like everybody loves the best friends. So when you have Statlander maybe lose to Britt, you have Britt do some nasty things to her at the end of the match, like she did with Red Velvet. And then the problem with Britt is the heat will be kind of there, but not really because she's so over. But I would love to see that. And if you have her against Thunder, Thunder, it'll be fine.
That's the thing.
It'll be fine.
We've been teetering on this, like, and that's why, like, as a DMD fanboy and the leader of Team Heel, and I've been having these mini meltdowns internally on
panic attacks.
Like literally, like, is SPD right? Are they going to take away the DMD from Team Heel? Is that
yes?
But dude, I'm telling you, the minute Britt Baker goes against Thunder Rosa, all of those worries go away. all those concerns, all those anxieties, all those panic attacks for Team Heel, they go away because Thunder Rosa is the most compelling babyface that you could ask for, and that feud between them is so like lights out. Just pardon the pun. It's so incredible between those two that you immediately touch into those nerves of like watching Britt Baker pour the bottle of water on Thunder Rosa's face and smear makeup.
You would have to sell that so hard.
You could push that
so hard. Like
I feel like when you get into that, you're gonna immediately like DMD versus Britt. Yeah. DMD is clearly the heel. I love what Pen mentions with Ruby, the former Ruby Riot, Ruby Soho coming back. That being a surprise debut would be a nice place to have. We talked about.
I think her contract, it's the 28th. I think is when she's allowed to sign
this month.
Yes.
So she's
wait. Yeah. Is it? Say that again.
August 28th. She's allowed like her 90 days.
Did you say no or did you say? Yes.
That would be a debut, though. That's be the you were saying. Like, do they have another big surprise or debut at All Out? Because All Out is usually, pay-per-views. You're going to have those big like wow moments. That would be a nice debut and a good place to have one. That's not going to overshadow or take Punk's moment away from him. It's going to allow Ruby to have her own moment, right? And it's going to also like in the spot. You have it in the women's division, not in the men's division, and in a battle royal where that's going to be a big pop for her.
I think you could save the debut and you can have Anna Jay come back and win.
I like Anna Jay coming back.
Anna Jay coming back, win the battle royal, feud with Thunder, and then you can do some of that, and then she can feud with another top babyface, Tay, and so that still stretches out and buys the time for the ultimate payoff, Thunder Rosa. You don't want to push that because DMD has only defended her title twice, right. So then you can knock down two more baby faces with Tay Conti and Anna Jay. And Statlander, and then boom, it's like, okay, she's run through the division and successfully, and then she'll finally meet her match, meet the ultimate Batman versus Joker. But back to the Daniel Bryan thing, if you do place the CM Punk match either at the end or in the middle of the card, if you did middle of the card, then you have the crowd, and then you almost have them calm down from the CM Punk high. Have some few matches, and then if you do put Kenny Omega at the main event, you have to have someone debut at the end.
I get it. I know that you want so desperately.
Or Hangman come out.
You want to be there so bad for Daniel Bryan's return. I know he's your favorite, and I know that you're putting that out there in the universe, hoping that happens. If they end up pulling the trigger with Daniel Bryan at All Out, man, hey, that would be a bonkers.
I'll be the guy in the crowd that you saw tonight crying.
That would be a mind-blowing moment. You would be. You'd be bawling your eyes out with joy. There'd
be tears coming under your sunglasses the whole time. I'll be great.
It feels like to me, I think that they should stretch. I mean, me personally, I think this should, but I'm all for it, man. Hey, I would love to be there and see it. I'd love to see it, but
it could be too soon. But I mean, if it happens, we're all going to be ecstatic like we are right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain, stoked, but I just think you got to let CM Punk have that moment, just out of respect for what he's done for the business. Like AEW, man, like we got to remember, man, part of why AEW is here is because of people like him, guys that have gotten screwed over by the machine. And like, he's a guy that like, we can thank him for why AEW exists right now, because a lot of the stuff he said and is back in his pipe bomb 10 years ago now is still true. Mm-hmm. It's if WWE would have fixed those problems that he talked about 10 years ago, we wouldn't need AEW. And like, we got to thank
we all need AEW.
Man. We all do, but seriously,
I get what you're saying, Miles.
Yes.
That pipe bomb, man, like opened a lot of people's eyes, disenfranchised fans, and I think you got to let him have that moment. I'd put that match as the main event, man, just because of the hype around it. Let them have that main, like that top spot, It's
Darby Allin in the main event versus CM Punk.
Main event and a lot of Dynamites.
That would be a heck of a way to end the show, man. And we've talked about it. Christian versus Kenny, like that is going to be a great in-ring match, but the buzz is not around that match, does not compare to what we see tonight with CM Punk versus Darby Allin. That kind of buzz, it doesn't get bigger than that. That's a big deal, especially in Chicago. I don't know. I think that I get what you're saying, SPD. It does make
I would love to see it.
It makes a lot of sense. I get what you're saying. If you have the world title, and this is, hey man, let's be respectful to Kenny and Christian.
Yeah.
One of Punk's biggest bones that he had to pick with WWE was when he was the world champion. How often did he not main event the pay-per-view? What a slap in the face that felt like to him.
Freaking WrestleMania.
That might be something there, hey man, like Kenny and Christian, they're the world title match. Maybe they need to be the main event there.
As it should. I mean, you're at the top of the food chain.
Right.
Whether you're over with the fans or not, you wearing that gold, you should be main eventing. Period. Whether it be, even if the fans are not 100% behind Christian Cage and Kenny, it doesn't matter. You are the gold keeper. You are the gatekeeper. You main event.
You are the top dog. You are You should main event. I agree with you, and that's that's one of Punk's biggest bones that he had to pick with the company when he was such an amazing world champion for them.
Yeah.
How rarely he main evented pay-per-views. What a slap in the face it felt like to him as the champion. I don't know if Punk would want to be on the other side of that. I don't know if Punk would want to be the guy who is the guy who came back and basically did exactly what he hated. I don't know if he would want to do that. I don't know if that doesn't vibe with Punk's authenticity. I think that Darby versus Punk is a huge match.
Maybe the first match. Have the show open with that even.
And that's what my initial feeling was, dude. SPD, you and I have talked about this. I know that you think that you do that and you could potentially where you could burn the crowd out. But I feel like what we saw tonight is exactly why I said you got to start the show off with Punk. Dude, the crowd in Chicago is going to be nutty for CM Punk.
They won't stop chanting CM Punk until they get CM Punk.
That's my point, right? Why would you?
It might slow down a little bit though. That now that we know he's here, it's not a rumor anymore. It's not like a dirt sheet. It's real. Like maybe now that we know, okay,
I don't know.
This has happened. Like
on Dynamite, that Dynamite crowd is going to be chanting it until they do it. So they're going to have to start the show with CM Punk again.
It's not going to die down. They're going to ride this buzz while they can. As Lori says, strike while the iron's hot. We're going to be chanting CM Punk at Rampage until he comes out.
Oh, yeah.
At All Out until he comes out.
I'm going to completely be chanting that the whole time. I'm not going to say I'm not. But again, I think that now that we know he's here, that it's not like a fantasy booking anymore. Like
I get it.
Understand? Like he's and he said tonight, he's here to stay. This isn't going to be a one-off thing, man.
I love
long-term contract for
Fridays.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, 4 pay-per-views. He's going to be in AEW. He's an AEW guy now, and that's awesome because now we're not going to have to worry about is he going to be a part-timer? Because the good thing about AEW again. And this is just, I'll let us get back to the topic in a second, but the good thing about AEW is that they don't have a house show schedule. So he's not going to be wrestling 6 days, 5 days a week, where his body's going to be getting just absolutely just demoralized the whole time. He's not going to be getting sick, like he alluded to in his promo. We're not going to have to worry about that with him. He's not going to get burned out in the same way.
Being on the road all the time and traveling and
he'll be able to go back to Chicago after travel on Wednesday and Friday,
fly home
the whole rest of the week. That's a great work a week to me.
100%.
If I could work, 2-3 days a week, that'd be great.
Right.
Not bad.
Ideal. Yeah. So
you want a taste?
Exactly. Oh my God, they're good.
So I mean, but SPD, I get your point, and I think that there is something to be said for how do you end that show? How do you end All Out on a high note? Because if Kenny and Christian are the main event and Kenny wins, I think we're assuming that we're gonna. That's not
win.
That's not an.
I think you have Hangman come out.
I could see that.
You know, if you don't do a surprise or debut, you can have Hangman come out, and then that way, as everyone that we've supported us here in the chat has said, they don't think it's going to be at All Out. They think it's at Full Gear where he gets the title. And so that way you can rekindle that feud. You know, he's been back, and Hangman comes out, and the crowd leaves happy regardless of. And then maybe they can even announce that he's going to be fighting Kenny at Full Gear, which they don't typically do that far in advance. But they can say, Tony Khan gave me this, or, you know, something that at Full Gear, we're having a title match, and then Kenny goes berserk or whatever, you know, something along the lines of that. But I think you could have Hangman come save the day and everyone leave on a high note.
Yep. Well, speaking of that, ending on a high note, we're going to end on a high note now, folks. Thank you so much for joining us.
This was a lot of fun. Oh, my gosh. I don't know how I'm going to sleep.
The excitement, CM Punk Day, it came, and it was glorious. It's like asking Santa for a pony, and he delivered. We got
a stallion.
With the unicorn.
We got a wonderful stallion. You're right. I love it. And guys, cannot wait to get back in the saddle on Wednesday. SPD, it's going to be, we are going all out, baby. We are so close. We are in the home stretch. I love it.
Buckle up, everyone. You ready? Buckle up with me. Buckle up.
Buckle up, baby.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.